Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMorty, and I'm still a medical doctor simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. My guest this week is Angie Hung. Angie is a project manager turned actor. I shouldn't say turned actor, she's pursuing both simultaneously, and she finds immense joy in pursuing both simultaneously, in pursuing both of these careers. And it's okay. You don't have to go from one career into acting, you can do both. And she does them so well and with so much enthusiasm. She has an incredible story to tell. We touch on being a member of the LGBTQ2 plus community, what it's like being a Chinese person in this industry, from an immigrant family, representation in this industry, how it's changing, how it's evolving, how Angie would like to see it change and evolve. We also touch a lot on Kate Winslet and the Spice Girls. And the way we touch on the Spice Girls is just probably the most beautiful thing, because Angie and her relationship with the Spice Girls is all about community. And that's a vein that has run deep through almost every episode of this podcast, is how critical it is to find your people, find your community of support. So if you are a second act actor, we are your people, we are your community, and we are your support. Please enjoy the wonderful, the enthusiastic, the hilarious Angie Hung. Tell me your story. How did you get into acting?
Yeah, so I have two parts. When I was, I don't know, maybe about 18. So my older sister has been an actress in Vancouver for many years. And I thought, this is something cool to get into. So I did get an agent. And I definitely was not prepared for the amount of hard work it takes to actually audition, be ready, know the character that well, understand the preparation and learning it takes to delve into one's character, even just for an audition. So about 15 years ago, so I think I tried it for about 10 years, and I'm so afraid to even tell you how I'd explain myself in the audition room. Definitely someone who should not be in there, just someone who wasn't prepared. So I'll give an example. I would go into the audition room, and it might be a character who was playing mahjong, and then all of a sudden something happens that scares the heck out of her, but not in a loud way, but more in a contained way. And oh my God, Janet, right? Janet. It was so unreal. So anyways, flash forward to 15 years ago, I stopped, but also because the acting industry was so slow, I wasn't getting anywhere. And it didn't bother me. Like, agents were also getting into the business and then getting out of it, which also caused some trouble. Anyhow, I took the time to still work in my full-time job, but I earned enough money to travel the world, to meet a lot of different people from different cultures. And I know this is how you meet people, by the way. You get into something like an international band known as the Spice Girls. Because every time you go to a concert, you do meet people from literally every single country in the world, because everyone has to travel to England in this case to see them live, because that's where they are based out of. And that's when I started realizing how cool it is to travel around the world and meet different people. And then also in this process, I encountered some amazing LGBTQ role models. One of them, and I don't want to say their names, but they did win Amazing Race Canada season 4. Google that, right? And that's when I realized, oh my God, there's this whole journey that I need to take, because prior to that, even though I never hide myself, I was pretty ashamed of also being who I was, because I live in Calgary, where at that time, all the gay women were all very more stereotypically butch, and I was so ashamed to be a part of that community, because that's the only representation I saw. Anyhow, so through my travels around the world and getting to meet different people and getting some LGBTQ role models that meant something to me, I became a different person. Not on purpose, just gradually, right? But then there was something, but at nighttime, I started having these fantasies about, okay, I'm living this amazing life. I get to travel around the world and meet so many different friends and people. Why am I fantasizing about... And okay, the fantasy is, I remember this character in a TV show, and he's filled with so much pain, and he's holding a gun, and he's trying not to shoot it at someone that hurt him. I'm like, why does that turn me on? And I realized it was just feeling those emotions again of in a safe environment. And when I say a safe environment, meaning it's not real, and that's where I like to feel it. But I'm thinking, oh my God, I would love to just challenge myself to get back into those emotions. Oh, I just realized I haven't even gotten to the whole point of the story. So what got me back into acting, I watched the film, it's 2020, Ammonite, Ammonite with Kate Winslet and directed by Francis Lee. And I thought the movie was all right? I was like, oh, okay. And then I watched another Kate Winslet movie after, and then I couldn't stop thinking about Ammonite, thinking, why would she even do like a LGBTQ movie? And then I discovered a YouTube interview with her where she explains about the acting process and why she specifically chose an LGBTQ movie and what she was trying to get out of it, and even the feedback that she got and the questions that she got. But the more that she went into the acting process, I started binging every single acting process interview with Kate Winslet, which is a lot if you go to YouTube and go down that rabbit hole. And then that's when my love for acting completely went from 10 to 100%. And then I think I don't know if you've asked this, but what made me not go into acting before that, many things I didn't want to put in what I knew would be the hard work even to get an agent, doing the cover letter, resume, demo reel, trying to justify yourself to an agent. I knew, and I didn't want to face any type of rejection. I knew that I would have to get new headshots. I think the amount of work, and knowing that I don't know if I would even succeed in the end, even in getting an agent, I didn't want to go through that. But then after this whole binging Kate Winslet interviews and realizing that acting actually is something that excites me now, and excites me now way more than 15 years ago, because I'm way more happy with who I am and myself. And I do believe that as a person and as an actor, the more okay you are about yourself, the easier and more enjoyable the acting process is because then you can be free enough to explore different sides of yourself, to explore characters that even you might not relate to, but you might relate to certain emotions or experiences that they've gone through. Like, feelings of rejection. I'm going to give just a more intense example. We've all hopefully we've all gone through rejection. I hope you have. But anyway, but it's just getting those life experiences, and honestly, I'm in such a fortunate time in my life because I have this amazing full-time job, but which also gives me the flexibility to also pursue acting when I'm not working at that job. Like, I'm so happy right now because I know that a lot of actors, they struggle with earning enough money to maybe pay for acting classes, and it's a struggle because they're managing two jobs, a job that they're only doing to get the money that they need, and then they're acting, which in most cases people are not earning any money at all, it's just auditioning. So I am so lucky. And now when I look back at my younger self, where I go, okay, the younger Angie would have said, oh my God, acting is so cool to get into. Now, if I hear anyone saying, oh, why are you in acting? Well, I thought it was something cool to get into. I instantly want to strangle them, because acting is, you don't get into acting because it's cool. You get into acting because you love that sometimes painful, joyful, hard work and rejection that comes along with trying to figure out the character and how you specifically want to play it. I just talked for so long. You might want to cut all that out.
No. Oh my gosh. I think that is so important to hear in every, because that's a vein that travels through a lot of people's conversations that I have, right? And I think especially when people have had either a life or a career before choosing to fully commit to acting, there is that realization, right? And it comes with life experience. I agree with you. If I had gone into acting when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I was of that mindset of like, this is cool. And because everyone loves the art of it, right? But it's the pursuit of it that's not cool.
Yeah.
The pursuit is really hard.
Yes.
And it's an eye-opening thing that if you need to love that pursuit of it.
Yes.
Otherwise, yeah, it's if you like just the art and the fluff of it, like you're not going to succeed in what the society deems as success and what maybe you personally deem as success.
And thank you for saying that. You articulated additional thoughts that were like yes. I was like yes, whatever you're saying, yes. Just pretend I said it. No, it's good. And even worse, I hear that about the because it is cool, right? If you tell people like, oh, even if I had an audition, like they're like that instantly, even though we shouldn't be putting auditions and famous actors up on a pedestal, but we do, and I'm sure, Janet, that you know that people will use it to get fame. So that was the actually even before the coolness factor. If I hear anyone say, well, I'm pursuing acting because I'd like to be famous one day, or even if they put it in a different way, they go, well, I'm pursuing acting because I'm sure I'll be the same once the fame comes. Any focus on fame or popularity or raising your status, if that's the reason you're pursuing acting, I hope you do not succeed, because that is I'm not even saying it's just as my opinion, but wrong. Like, you pursue acting because even when you just get an audition, even if you're like, one out of the 1,000 self-tapes they're going to see, you still have this hope that maybe the way that I'll play it is what they might be looking for. And something else that I know I love about acting, after many rejections, I've loved every single audition process I've done, because I've had a good friend come over. Like, I've had mostly two good friends, like different friends depending who's available, come over, and we have the most fantastic time bonding with each other, talking about the characters. Even after the audition, we sit down, we talk about, oh my God, what's up? Right. So that even gives us the opportunity that we normally wouldn't have to start connecting and talking about life. And even talking about, okay, Angie, Angie, I know you really well. You were really stiff in that. I don't know why. But just getting to know each other in the process. I don't think I've ever had an audition where I haven't just felt so joyous after, regardless whether I got it or not. And I'm sure you probably understand, in most cases you don't get it. So, but just that's how you know you're in the best field possible, is when you as you said, you love the whole process of it, whether it's 10,000 rejections and then that one major audition that you do get, and then you have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. No, I'm kidding.
So that is a brilliant idea of shaping an audition self-tape into what can be a dread-filling experience. Because I know there's this weird thing that happens to me, and let me know if it happens to you. You get that, like, audition in your inbox, and you go, yay! Oh, no. Because it's like, no, now I have to learn all these lines. Now I have to self-tape. But, like, it's this weird feeling because you've been waiting for this, and you're excited, but there's a bit of dread around it as well, too. I love the idea of shaping it, like, making it so, like, social, and not just like, okay, we're gonna read the lines and send it off into the abyss and maybe something will happen. I mean, like, no, this is a time to connect with a friend, connect with someone, and create art, discuss art, and make it a joyful experience. That's brilliant. I've never heard, I'm gonna do that. That is genius. It's genius.
And another thing that thank you. So I do agree with you on that yes, when you first get that audition, you are so happy. You're like, yay, audition. And then you're like, yeah, you start reading it and you're being like, due date, right? I'm like, oh my God, tonight at 4 p.m. And because both my friends work full time, so usually they're not available during the day, right? So it's even like trying to be like, it's picking up the phone. Another audition's come, and I know you might have had plans tonight, but can you maybe come over and help me? And even that, like, is fun, and my friends do, like, they love it, actually, they've told me, right? And you even start to realize that your readers, who are your friends, sometimes some of them are amazing directors, because I think they, not just that they know you, but they see things probably that you as the auditioner don't see, right? Because sometimes I think when you audition, sometimes I get an audition, I'm thinking, oh, it's so clear how this person's going to be played. And I'm like, oh no, that should already be a warning bell, but usually isn't a warning bell soon enough for me, right? And it's only later you start looking at, okay, why is there a period at the end of that line and not a ... or a question mark and things like that? There's just so much stuff that you can get into it. And another thing about the process, I just want to tell you, every single audition, there's been a hilarious blooper. And so I've captured those as well, because right, you're taping. And usually I post them on social media, like without any spoilers, because it's so funny. And like the best, even though, and this is another reason why I know I love acting, is there have been some very difficult scenes, right? Where we get to the very end, we're just about to nail it. And then one time my friend forgot her cue at the very end of this amazing audition scene that was going perfect. So I'm standing there, and at first I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, am I the one who should have said something? And then finally she doesn't lose it, but I start losing it, realizing that she's trying not to lose it. And, and if you hated acting, you'd be like, oh shit, you got to do it all over again. To me, I'm like, we just burst out laughing, and we're like, and my friend's like apologizing, and like, it's okay, we can just do it again. And I realized I just love it, even though no one's seeing me. The casting director's not seeing that, and it's just an experience between me and my readers. And so now I have a quote blooper reel that maybe one day I will be able to share with the whole world.
I love that, and I think that is key for longevity in this industry, is that mindset of joy, right? And I mean, not to get too hippy-dippy about it all, but the biggest thing that I have learned in these last couple years is that if you find joy in your acting and realize that acting is not just when you book and when you're on set, what you were doing was acting, and you want to do that for the rest of your life, that's so key to literally outlasting 99% of people in this industry who aren't finding joy in that, right? So that mindset, I think, is so critical and tough to have. So how did you develop that mindset of joy in the process? Where does that come from?
I think it goes from me thinking back to when I was younger and I wasn't completely happy with my life and with myself. And also I do think as a more experienced person, it's such a great question. I wish I had a great answer for it. I do. I just swear I do. I just know that when I was younger, I just mentally, and I guess from a life experience perspective, had not experienced enough experiences that are full circle, meaning joy, what it feels like when me as a person misjudges someone, and how when I misjudge someone, or I'm too quick to say, why did you do that, kind of thing, even to my own friends. All of those experiences and learnings, and even the friends and even the people that were friends and were more acquaintances now, after having been through all that, I've learned so much about myself, but then I've also learned so much about the people that are still in my life in a very strong way. And that gives me hope. It gives me empathy. I think there's a better word than empathy. It gives me compassion. It gives me appreciation for where I am in my life right now, despite all the good things and bad things that I've done. And bad things I've done is I'm not talking about crime. I'm talking about how easy it is for me, Angie, to judge others about the decisions that they've made. Or I'll be like, why did you post that on social media? Was that just to increase your following? Now I'm at the point where it's none of my business what other people do. So that's a lesson that I'm learning. And also all the love that I've received from the Spice Girls community, as an example, but really from the LGBTQ community, how accepted I can and am, even at work. And that was another thing. So in my workplace, which is a very, very, very large organization, I started contributing to their diversity and inclusion presentations, but trying to provide a more positive perspective. And I say positive because I want to make sure that I'm still a positive role model to anyone that might be listening to me, young, old, it doesn't matter. Meaning I want to use my experiences, even if they're as being a minority in many ways, as something that I can use and leverage to get myself even further, as opposed to using it to complain or using it saying, oh, I've only been judged because I'm this and I'm that. I'm like, no, there's a lot of things that I can contribute to that. Not to take away from the judgment that female, Chinese, gay women like me have gone through. And I think all these life experiences has still, I don't know how, Janet, made me, and I'm realizing it now with you, a very happy person. And I don't know why I'm so happy, but you know, I have also a lot of older age friends who can no longer walk, no longer see, no longer move like they used to, and that also helps me to appreciate where I am right now. So combining all of these experiences and knowing that there's a lot of personal stories, some positive, some very painful, that stories that I can now share, hopefully, if I ever do have that platform. And I do acknowledge that as much as I do not agree that people should pursue acting for fame, I just realized I've got to make sure I do the quotes so that you can actually see it. But anyways, like, what is she doing over there? So anyways, where was I going with that? Okay, so yeah, as much as I don't like people pursuing for fame, I do know that if I do become hopefully a successful actor who's known for being a joy to work with, who is down to earth, a joy, nice to everyone, including usually the people that never get talked to on set. I'm specifically talking about background and extra people. I want to use that then as a platform to create change, because even in the current organization that I'm working at now, as much as I share my stories about inclusivity and what that means, and not judging me because I look Asian, just because I look Asian doesn't mean that I'm amazing at math and finance and that's the only thing I can do. But I know that I'm not able to influence change until I have that bigger platform. And that is completely separate other reason why I'm doing acting. I love it. Like, I love acting. You can put that all into its complete package. And then separately, I have this other desire to actually make change, hopefully, to people, especially people that might know what I felt like years ago when I felt like I didn't fit in, when I felt ignored, when I felt not included. And I'm hoping that they can see that. I just think I just gave a very serious answer to probably what you meant is a very fun question.
I think, and I don't mean to be like to be putting like words in anyone's mouth or anything like that. But what really, like you'd mentioned the word empathy, and I love that word in conjunction with art, and because like this is not a unique idea to me. I wish I could take credit for it, but like I think like art is one of the art in every form, acting, painting, sculpture, whatever art is, I think is one of the few things in this world that can like authentically create empathy in someone, and in return that can like create more art, right? Like I think art gets kind of like deemed as this frivolous thing in the world, but I don't think there's much else that can really allow genuine empathy to be built in someone, because you can't judge either the character you're playing or like other artists, like, you know, stuff like that you can literally build empathy. And so I wonder, just for like you and what you've been through, like the artistic process you have has helped you build empathy in your other job, but then also the empathy you already had is now coming out in the art that you're able to do. So it's this like lovely cycle. And again, I don't know if empathy is the correct like term, but like that feeling for others and understanding others, but also helping others understand you and others. Do you know what I mean? I'm kind of rambling, but yeah, I think it's more powerful than we realize.
It is, and even now that I go into acting, when I'm managing projects, so I'm a project manager in my full-time job. I'm seeing those opportunities for learning about myself, but also learning about compassion for other people, because I've already looked at it from an acting character type of viewpoint, and then I take it into my work world. And we know when I see people fighting, or when I see people just in a disagreement, as people do in projects, I even see so much more learnings from that, because I'm already now also viewing it from an acting character, a person's background, what led to that character responding to that situation in that way. I now also take away those learnings from my daytime job as well. And yes, it does all wrap around, hopefully for me, in having more compassion and having more empathy towards or for others.
Describe how this kind of second time getting into acting, like what have you been building over the last couple of years? Like how is, again, this is more of, I guess, a process question, but more of a, like, who have you built kind of around you? Are you taking classes? Do you have an agent? Like how has that been built that's different this time around?
Oh my God. Yeah. So one thing I forgot to mention when I was like getting back into acting, I knew that I needed to state why I'm getting into acting. I didn't want to do that typical cover letter of, I'm looking for representation, that kind of stuff, right? Because again, I did my research first. I narrowed down the list of legitimate acting agents that I wanted to apply for, and I was very open to all of them. I was saying I'm applying to multiple. You're one of the ones that I've narrowed down to just after doing some research on you.
Yeah.
And what I did put in there is so I am openly, and I want to be very clear, openly female. And not that anyone's gonna, like, sometimes people don't know or they don't think about that, but I'm openly female, Chinese, and openly LGBTQ. And I go, if you have a problem with that, then you're not for me and I'm not for you. And so I think that did help actually with all my applications. But I want to be very clear that I didn't use me being gay as a way to get in, but I used me being gay so that the potential agent knows an important side of me that I don't want to have to hide. And in fact, in a good way, even though I would never use me being a minority in any way to get where I want to go, but it does tell people, okay, look, here's a person that has experiences which probably would contribute well to a person being able to get fully into a character and empathize with that character because they've been through, being rejected or being judged, because a lot of characters, a lot of people and characters do. And so I was just very clear with that. And I did think that it made all the potential agents that I apply to probably take a closer look at it. And yes, I am aware that there is more of a focus in the acting industry, acting business, on diversity and inclusion. And I keep on saying those are two completely different things, right? And so with diversity, I know that, sometimes maybe productions feel forced to even put in their description, we're open to ethnic, diverse backgrounds. And you really honestly, Janet, you don't even know if that's the case, but they have to put that there. And then yes, you get the inclusion side where you don't just look, diverse. You actually, they're part of the family, they're part of the team. And I wouldn't be able to view it from that type of, I hate the L word, I just hate it, lens. Okay, I'm sorry, it's such an overused word. But anyways, I view it from that lens to, now I can view it from that viewpoint because I've been through it. And there is something, as much as I love acting, like I cannot even go, I have not even told you how much I love acting. Like I know you can probably see it, but no, like I haven't even reached how much I love acting. But even as much as how much I love acting, just being able to one day be and I keep on using the word positive because I have seen, I guess, more negative uses of someone's minority to get what they want. And I don't want to do that. I want to be like, look, and actually a great example is most of the people in my life, including in my work life, that have given me the most support Some of them are straight white men. And I need to be open with that because I think it does create a divide when me as a minority go in and be like, oh, well, you're this group. And in this case, straight white men, you've gotten everything. You don't know what it means to have compassion. And I'm like, are you kidding me? It is straight white men that wanted nothing from me because I wasn't their type anyways, wanted nothing from me other than I think they saw something in me that spoke something to them. They related to me. And I think, yes, because my interests might align more with what traditionally straight white men like. Like I love science fiction, time travel, Lego, Transformers, engineering. Like I like things that maybe, a lot of boys growing up in Canada and the US were influenced to enjoy, but not as much girls. Never was into Barbie or into combing people's hair or, anything like that. So I keep on thinking, oh no, did I go back to address your original question, which was, what is the process now and what's influenced me? So yes, so I approached the applying to agencies a different way. I think now with Google and with internet, it's so much easier to go, okay, what really should I be presenting to a potential agent? What do I need? What skills do I need? Okay, I don't have a demo reel. What can I use in my past life? So, I forgot to tell you that I had I'd say about a 20-year dance experience overlapping that break that I had. So I was able to perform in other ways and express myself in other ways. And that was another thing that I was able to put on my resume. I was just able to experience so much more life by, dancing, traveling around the world, like dancing on stage with a Bollywood group, a hip hop group, et cetera, et cetera. So after living life, and even like living life as a corporate employee, as someone, so I know what it's like to work a full-time job. And actually, you know what? I love it. I don't like how it's always put down, but it could be just my specific situation. Like I love my job. Like I get to manage projects, which helps me to see different types of people, different types of personalities. Helps me look, okay, how can I facilitate discussion between these groups of people that might not be seeing eye to eye? But then I take that away and thinking, okay, what did I even learn about them? What did I learn about myself in the process? And then I use all of that, hopefully, when I'm thinking about preparing for a character. I think I can be much more open about preparing for characters because I have been exposed to so many different people. And another example I'll give, because I'm going to try to include Kate Winslet and the Spice Girls as much as I possibly can, right, in this discussion. So I was a huge fan of Sporty Spice, and I still am now, right, Sporty Spice. And she went through, I believe it was, and I don't want to misquote, it was not depression, but it was bipolar disorder. And she was very open about it. And having an idol that you look up to and you and your friends look up to be so open about something like that, it totally takes away the stigma. Because before that, all the people, and this is before mental health was a huge topic. Before that, if anyone had depression or any kind of mental health, they would be considered weird and just kind of avoid them because they're just kind of weird. But to have like my idol, like a Spice Girl, come out about that, I thought I had no more reason to judge other people who had going through mental health issues. So even that was another learning and experience that I got to go through. Like, not that I got to go through it, but I got to go through trying to support my own idol who's going through it and learning what she's going through and learning that even like the coolest people go through mental health disorders. And now taking all that and also like applying that to acting. And when I hate calling it acting because I think acting is really portraying real people. So acting is almost opposite of what acting is. It's not pretending. It is telling real people's stories as real as possible. And those characters, in all, I think all people in life, we all have those little things that make us unique, but also those little things that we've been through, positive and negative, that make us the people that we are today. And after learning all of that, I now appreciate my daytime job more because I use it as learning about people opportunity. I know, I'm sorry. All my project team members, you know what, right? And so I'm still maximizing my experience in my daytime job, but also using that, and probably interchangeably, using that to educate me about, oh, okay, you know what, maybe that's a mind thought I need to do, or I need to get into when I'm playing a character who's going through that type of experience or emotion. So yes, I do have an agent. I love her, them, and I just say them because there's actually 3 people leading it, right? And the reason I don't necessarily advertise who my agent is anyone who wants to be an actor should love it so much they want to do their own work to get into acting. Some questions that I hate being asked. Who's your agent? It is none of your business, and I say it's none of your business because I know some people kind of view that as a shortcut. Oh, okay, well then that's the agency I'm applying for because Angie gets legitimate auditions. No, do your own homework, right? The place I probably would direct people to is ACTRA Alberta. At least there's some potential agents that you maybe want. Like I will help people. And another thing I hate being asked when I tell people that I'm an actor, that's why I normally don't tell people that I'm an actor, because I think it does come across as kind of selfish, is, oh God, I hate this, Janet. So what have you been in? What have you done?
I hate that.
I know, thank you. I loved your reaction to that. I'm like, because I don't even think it comes out of a curiosity as much as comparing, okay, what have you done versus what have I done? Are you a real actor? Or like, have you?
Definition of it. It's so
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. So I mean, Grant, and so it's hard for me sometimes to not tell people what I'm doing. Oh, I can't go out with you because I'm busy. Busy doing what? Oh, and even then I feel so like, oh my God, like I'm busy doing a self-tape. I'm like, oh God. Like I was like, I don't want to show up, but at the same time, I'm sure you realize even the language of acting can be very intimidating to people because most people do think it is cool, and it is such a cool thing to do. But I hate being like, I've got an audition and then I got to do a self-tape. Oh, the life of a self-tape auditioner. Like, no. Like, I'm not, I think that's very show-offy and, right? Oh yeah, there was something that I did want to say, and I observe everyone around me, including, even when I'm okay, and I don't want to say just doing background work, because again, I'll be doing what I don't like people doing. I observe people on set, and most people don't even look at the background or extra people. And in fact, the sad thing is, once an extra background person gets one line, one effing line, like their line could be, hi, how are you? That's it, a bartender or whatever. And they start treating everyone, quote, beneath them as crap. So I have this little spreadsheet of people that I've encountered that include everyone. And it could be not even people that I know too well, but I'm like, okay, Miranda from this production, and I can always look her up later, right, on IMDb, was so nice to everyone. Like, you don't see that hierarchy of who people talk to. And that was another thing that I like, is whenever I encounter truly amazing people, especially if they're lower on the false societal view of viewing different people on the acting scale, if I really write their names down, I write their background, so one day, if ever I have that opportunity to raise them and elevate them, I will go out of my way to. And I do think, sorry, I'm going to really go on about this, is I think one of the many pitfalls or downfalls to someone's acting career is when they become in any way, even no matter how arrogant, in any way arrogant. Arrogant, it's not always that showy offy person. It could be that former extra who just got one line and now they have their own trailer and now they don't speak to the extras anymore, or they get mad at the driving people. Because sometimes I've heard from drivers saying, I one time accidentally called a background a one-liner person a background person, and they just lost it at me, thinking like, how dare you treat me like just a background person. So I think I'm being taught these lessons so that I mean, I'm assuming I will succeed, but when I do succeed in this industry, and when I say succeed, having that bigger voice where people will actually listen to me. And yes, I will direct them to this podcast first. Okay, like if you want to know how I feel, just go back to this one I filmed ages ago, right? And I do think that even observing this type of behavior, whether it's done to me, whether it's done to anyone else, is also preparing me to be in that position so that I can be a positive role model. So I'm not going to be the actor, like as long as I don't have to get into character in really intense character, I will go take up my lunch and go sit with the background people, right? No more, like none of that bullshit of actors cannot speak to background people because they have a higher status. Like I want to make sure I highlight and elevate anyone who deserves to be elevated. But people don't notice them because they're not at that status level yet.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing that I've found is like the people that we put on the pedestal don't need to be supported anymore. They're already there. They're already up on the pedestal. They're already up high. The people who need our elevation are those of us who are like in the pursuit of it. And I think that's and building up the film family, like on your spreadsheet about who has been supportive to everyone, who has been supportive to you, I think, and then elevating those people, not only does it make the whole industry better, but there is that. It feels really good from like a creative fire standpoint. I know for me, like one of the best things I found on the days when I'm not doing anything creative or I'm feeling like, oh, there's no auditions coming in or anything like that. The thing that I found that has been most helpful in getting that like creative fire going again is finding someone who has supported me somehow and then figuring out what they're doing now and supporting that. And that selfishly makes me feel good. But it's elevating them and supporting them in their journey of the pursuit of this that we're all doing. Does that make sense? Yeah.
That completely makes sense. Like, and I obviously did not come here in an overly emotional tone, but that you nearly made me tear up when you're explaining that. I do get it. I think it's because, and that's another reason why I want it so much. I want to do those good things. I just wish, honestly, I had the power, authority, status to do, and I just hope I do it correctly. And I do think these steps of being able to observe people that don't treat people correctly, I almost have to be thankful for that, otherwise I wouldn't be aware of that type of people versus the type of people I would like to highlight. And it goes well beyond acting. It goes even in the Spice Girls, fan community as well. Like there's, when you're a fan of someone, there's now a hierarchy of fans, right? The fans that everyone looks up to because they meet all the Spice Girls all the time. And some of them, I've witnessed them making fun of, and this sounds so terrible, but it's true, fatter fans, like fat, like F-A-T. And I'm like, I cannot believe that people would even do that. And usually because the fatter fans also, just in that case, end up being more shy, so they don't get to meet the Spice Girls as much. They don't know how to play the game to get to, they don't know where to meet the Spice Girls. They don't really know how to connect on social media. Maybe the more socially awkward fans, I guess, as well. And these are the fans that are made fun of. And again, it's just, what I'm saying is, everything that I want to do from having that voice is not just for acting, it is for even my corporate job, right? So I don't mind sharing, you don't have to remove this. So I do work for the municipal government. So think of it that way. So I'm a project manager for the municipal government of the city that I live in. And as wonderful as my employer is, most of the leaders and managers I see are either, of course, white men, but also if they are women, they're also white. And I've tried to share stories about how it's so easy to even accidentally misjudge someone. And I'll give you an example. if I go into a meeting room in my daytime job and no one knows me, I know that they assume a few things. That yes, I'm quiet, I'm timid because I'm Chinese. Yes, whatever you want, I do for you. Like, no, I'm not that type of thing. It is racial, it is cultural. And I know that I don't have that power, really, not yet, I hope one day to succeed in acting, so then I can talk about my experiences in the corporate municipal government environment. So yeah, it's not really corporate, it's more private, public sector, but still it's a business. And I'd love to be able to then share about how come there were no Asians like me who are definitely qualified for jobs. Maybe we didn't apply for them. But how many times did you probably think, oh, I'm going to throw out a name, it's a fake name, Janet Wong. Oh, well, why shouldn't she be applying for that means she didn't grow up in Canada. Of course, how would you know that? That she doesn't know what it's like to be a leader at the city. So there's just certain things like that. I know one day if I do have that voice, I will need all the help from my friends, including my readers, who know me well enough, who can help me hopefully craft the message in a right way, that it's not vindictive, it is not trying to shame anyone, but it's trying to finally make a change. Because no matter how much we talk about diversity and inclusion, I almost feel the only industry that's really pushing it and doing anything is the acting industry, because they're so visible. Like industries now have to hire a certain number of, or even if they don't have to, they feel like they should. Fine, because other industries, including oil and gas and other companies, they don't have to do that. And another reason why I want to get into acting is it does give you more power, but obviously I know that with that it's harder to be humble about it. I'm even learning, and I don't want to bring up this incident, but even the whole Will Smith, Oscar, whatever incident, it actually thought, what? I hopefully, if I ever do succeed in acting, I don't take, and I don't know Will Smith or anything, but I don't want to ever be an easy target because I let my guard down about treating people as fairly and kindly as possible. I do believe that when actors succeed, a lot of them do become more arrogant because they are treated more special. And that goes to that point about the people that are put on a pedestal. They are also the ones who get all the free things as well, right? They get sponsored by these companies and get free hotels, and so they already are rich enough to buy certain things, and then yet they're given more riches, and they're also given riches from their fans, when the fans really hopefully should be directing that to someone like just as an example, homeless people. If I ever was, and I don't ever want to be a celebrity because I think the pressure would be insane. Another good thing about getting into acting later in life, people wouldn't care as much. I don't have that young social media trending type of personality. So I'm never going to be a star. I'm never going to be a teen idol. But that's great because I don't have that pressure of being so young, but yet being elevated so high and not having those life experiences to really know what that means and what that doesn't. I don't have to worry about, honestly, would not have to worry about people camping outside my door, because, even if I do start succeeding, I'm still that older Chinese woman. Who cares? If I was honestly a younger, more hip, more traditionally attractive person, then yeah, I'd have the media on my door. But they wouldn't care. No one cares about me. There are public images of me all over on the internet of me without makeup on. So it's not a surprise anymore. I'm not going to make oh my God, look at Angie Hung without makeup. This is what she looks like. They're already there. So I think that's another great thing about getting into acting, I guess, in a later stage of my life, is in most cases it does give you that more mature mind to deal with things, and I honestly, you don't get unfairly elevated to, quote, a celebrity star level because you're young and beautiful.
Is there anything that you've noticed, and you may have already touched on this, but is there anything that you've noticed has really surprised you about the industry, or that has changed now that you're in it a second time?
Yeah. I do see at least the attempt, the visual attempt to be more diverse and inclusive. You look at when you go to breakdown services, you look at I forget what you call those things where they say who they want, like the cast call or whatever.
Yeah.
And they usually do, obviously, way more inclusive. A part of me is skeptical because usually they word it in a way that doesn't make it mandatory. They're like, all ethnicities welcome. Like that is a way to get your more traditional young, white, thin, skinny model, right?
Right.
So, but at least they're doing something that you can actually see some kind of change. I have noticed though, and maybe, and I could be wrong about this, I'm probably more sensitive to it. Diversity seems to be just about Black and Indigenous. And I don't really see any care for Chinese people. I do look at things like Squid Game and things where Asians have come to the forefront. And maybe I don't relate to it because, like, I'm a Chinese person. I don't know what's like to be Korean. I don't know what it's like to be Vietnamese. And so as much as I love seeing Asian people in general more on screen, I do think there's a lot of real people, including real Chinese people, that are not shown in any way at all. Even though there are some Asian actors that might be Chinese, but I don't relate to them. I don't relate to Awkwafina. I didn't grow up in Brooklyn. I don't have that street smarts and things like that. I'm just a normal person that belongs to a race that in most cases is ignored anyways. And I think some of it is cultural. I think in my culture specifically, we're taught to be very obedient and not to speak up. So I think that also contributes to us not being seen. And thankfully, I'm not like that. So so as a Chinese person, I don't fit what traditionally Chinese people are known to be, which is very rules following. They don't speak up. They accept whatever's given to them. If they're, like, I hate to say this, but if they're abused, they're actually told not to say anything because you don't want to create trouble. And I just want to be I want to just add to that wonderful pot of real people, no matter what background, that still are not seen in any type of way. And I know I have to be very cautious about what I say, especially if I do get a larger platform, because I don't want to. It's so easy to judge people, especially online, being like, oh my God, Angie is so racist because she thinks that Asians, she doesn't think that Asians have been seen as an important minority as well, right? So there's so many things that I just have to be very careful with. I am thankful, and I should never use this, but I know my friends would be okay with it. I literally have friends from every single skin shade and skin color that you can possibly think of. Just so you know, Janet, my best friend and one of my readers, she is like and she's okay with me joking about this because she knows the whitest white. We can't get any whiter than her. She's from Nova Scotia, and there's certain things like she grew up in her environment where. At that time when she was growing up, there were no Asian people. There was just white people, and they were all straight. Of course, not everyone was out at the time. So she was like, Angie, you know what? You were the very first Asian person I've met. And then also, you ended up being gay too. And then when she introduced me to her family, that was a joy, right? Just because she knew that, her family are lovely people, but they just haven't been exposed to people like me. So I'm like, how careful do I go there? Like, what do I admit about myself, and what do I maybe keep a bit more hush hush, right? Toned down. And then to people that are the opposite of what my friend is. So and I'm so proud of that fact. And yes, part of that is because I happen to like a group, Spice Girls, that's internationally recognized, or was recognized, whatever you say it, by a lot of people from around the world. And they just spoke to a lot of people, including gay people as well. So I did meet a lot of my gay friends, LGBTQ friends, through my fandom of the Spice Girls. And I haven't been involved in the acting industry to really speak to, has it really changed? I think there's a lot of voice about, yes, the acting industry is being more inclusive, there needs to be more work done. I read the Internet Movie Database stories that usually come from Variety and Deadline, and you do start noticing different types of faces and different types of people, and I love that. Oh, I do have to say one thing though. Oh my God. You know what I hate? Commercials, TV shows. They usually, if they do have someone who's of a different body shape, it's usually the man. So usually the person that isn't as fit, who is, just not as fit, is the man. And the man can be chubby. The man can be no hair, like balding. And yet the woman's always still perfectly healthy, skinny. And I'm like, but have you noticed that, and that's accepted, it's almost considered cute. You look at young Sheldon, right? The mother is great, great, healthy, attractive. The father is a good person on the inside, but just isn't as taking care of himself. You will never see that exchange. Why don't I ever see
classic comedy trope?
And just things. So I have noticed things that I'm thinking, oh damn it, why is that the case? And again, I never want to pigeonhole someone like, you need to hire more uglier women. No, just kidding. But yeah, it usually you don't see the not as fit female. So
it's like the last remaining bias I've read. Like, obviously, it's not like we've cured the industry of bias for LGBTQ, BIPOC, whatever. But, like, I remember reading something just recently about, like, the last remaining bias that the industry refuses to tackle is weight. Yeah, especially for females and female identifying people. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So, can I ask, and this is maybe a bit of a controversial question, I remember talking to somebody who, again, identifies as being a member of the LGBTQ community, and we were talking about how much we loved the TV show Schitt's Creek because it didn't show the LGBTQ community as, like, the tokens. Like, here is the gay couple. Look at the gay couple. It was like, no, here is a couple that are in love. They happen to be gay. That's not the part of the story. That's not the story. They're not the token gay couple that the world will pivot around and everyone will go, whoa, look at them. In talking to them, and talking to other people who identify as members of the BIPOC community, what I see is you're kind of in this weird gray area right now in the industry where there's still roles for, they want a Chinese female and you're going to be the owner of the convenience store, like token
laundromat.
Chinese female, the laundromat, saying two lines using the accent, token female, token Chinese female. But then they're also starting to have people who are like, we need a woman. Doesn't matter. It's like, I am a woman. I live in this world. It can be any race. It can be any, LGBTQ, doesn't matter. That's not the key thing that the story is revolving around. Mm-hmm. This is kind of an odd... My gut feeling is like, do you have a preference? But like, how do you want to see the industry shifting? Because there's an idea of like respecting and identifying as like, this is the culture that I come from, and I want to be proud and show it. Mm-hmm. But also I'm part of like Canada, or just the world, and I am here as just human, being a real person, portraying a real person, like you were saying.
Yeah.
How do you want to see the industry shift from where it's at right now? What would be your ideal?
Yeah. I think my ideal situation would be one day where interviews would even have to ask that type of question because it's not seen as an issue. I mean, I really do appreciate the attempts to share different types of stories. Not all short stories have been shared, and certainly not a lot of Chinese stories have been shared. Even as much as I kind of enjoyed Fresh Off the Boat, I could not relate to those parents at all. My parent, like, it was very whiteified, Americanized parents, even if they looked Asian, right? And yes, I would like it where the industry wouldn't, where if they do say, okay, we're looking for a woman, it could be the lead role, it could be any type of role. I wish that would be accepted without having people maybe in the background discuss, okay, what does that really mean? And what you said does remind me of something where I know not all people will agree with me. I don't believe that, and I don't know if this is maybe touching what it's an element of what you were getting at. I believe that straight actors should, I know this is, be able to play gay characters, because similarly, gay actors should be able to play straight. In fact, your sexuality shouldn't even matter, because I think it's such a, like, it's usually not black and white. It's not like, oh my God, I'm a gay person, meaning I've never been with a man before. Is not usually the case anyways.
Yeah.
And because I don't ever want to limit LGBTQ actors to only play their type, because then that would truly limit them. Like, I mean, again, I think about why I even went back into acting is because a straight woman actor, Kate Winslet, who I adore for acting purposes, decided to take a risk and play a woman who happens to be in a relationship with another woman. And I think in order to normalize things like same-sex relationships, I think the industry should be allowing all sorts of people. I'm talking about sexuality, I'm not talking about skin color, by the way. I think if you're talking about a story that is a Mexican family, a Chinese family, a Caucasian family, I'm completely okay with whoever looks that skin color to play it. So i.e., if you're telling a story about, telling a true story about someone who happens to be Caucasian, I don't see a need to try to be more diverse by hiring a black actor to play that role. Yeah. But for sexuality, I think because it's not, like, no one can see sexuality on me. They can't tell that what my sexuality is when they look at me, but they can tell that I'm whatever I look like to you. Chinese in my case, but people might not necessarily even guess that. I think it is something that's not visible. I think it's, I love it. I hate to say it, I love it when sometimes when straight actors play gay, because I think it does help normalize same-sex relationships. If you only have gay identifying actors playing LGBTQ roles, I think it just puts us in a box again, because, you know, growing up in Calgary, the representation of lesbians that I saw were the only ones that were out were butch, had, you know, tattoos, they looked like men, and that didn't make me feel good about myself and didn't make me feel included. Mm-hmm. So I just love, like, so and maybe one day I'll have a different opinion on this, but if you're telling a story about a family, and like, especially if it's historically true, I do believe that casting and being very clear about, we are casting someone who needs to be, you know, I don't know what the word, like 100% this race or whatever, this ethnicity. I agree. Like, I promote that. I also I don't really know what I feel about, say, trans people, because I do think that they've always never had that opportunity to play themselves. So that is a difference where I'd be like, you know what, if you're going to tell a trans character story, it's the best to hire someone who truly identifies as trans, as opposed to like hiring a woman who can play a man, or you know, whatever, like what they did with the Danish girl. You're going to be shocked at this. I've not seen a single episode of Schitt's Creek. And but it's on my list. Like, all my friends have said, "Oh my God, you got to see it." But there's a whole bunch of shows that I want to see, right? And I know that I would love it. Especially, I heard that once you get maybe past the first season, right, and things like that. Like, oh my, and like, so maybe I need to represent better. By watching more stories that, you know, I should be able to like be like, oh my God, do you remember that episode where? Because the only episode I'm aware about is when I think someone serenades someone with Tina Turner's "The Best." Yeah. I don't know if you. Yeah. Oh my God, I love that song. And I'm like, okay, I might just have to fast forward to that episode to kind of get the feeling of it.
No,
like,
you have to watch it all. You have to. But I would say wait till it's like the dead of Calgary winter. And you just need some joy, and it's just like a bowl of warm soup. It's like the most lovely thing, and it's hard to find people who don't like once you get past that first season. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's not like the first season's bad. The first season is but it just like it just grows and grows and grows into just like this phenomenal thing. Yeah.
Okay, when I make promises to people, I actually write them down. So when I start watching Schitt's Creek, I will tag you and be like, because Janet wanted to make sure I watched an inclusive story. I could be like, Janet, you know what? Janet is influencing me to be more inclusive, which is great. And that is what I mean about sharing, because as a minority, I learn just as much from people who are not like me, about people like me, right? Like that. And so I think because of that, I do welcome. And I know it's there's many more examples that I could, but I do welcome straight actors playing gay. I'm so sorry, I do, because I don't think it's anyone's business what your sexuality is, anyways. So just because I'm married to a man, if I was, you know, and I'm always seen in the news with, you know, whatever, with Ben, had to be Asian, Ben Wong. I'm kidding. You're an actor. Like, I mean, it's like saying, oh, okay, if you're gonna play a serial murderer, we gotta hire a real serial murderer. Like this is so dumb. Like, so dumb. Although when I hear opinions from people who don't agree with me, I do understand where they're coming from, and maybe from their experiences as well. And so I don't want to. I'm probably quite open and flexible about what I think, but I've never been. Sometimes I feel like I don't fit in the gay community because I usually have different perspectives about how things are and should be. But it's because the people that have supported me in my work career, at least, are straight white men. So I don't want to be, you know, blaming a whole group of people for these problems when the problem exists, but not all of them are like that. And I don't want to make people have to defend themselves when maybe they weren't the types of people that should have to defend themselves. And yes, you know, just the fact that you are telling me how great Schitt's Creek is because it's telling in a regular way about LGBT, like, you only have to say it's LGBTQ is I think is what I heard you say, right? You're just not like, oh my God, you got to view Schitt's Creek as an amazing gay, you know? Like, no, it's an amazing story about, I think, family and couples and father and son and things like that. And just even the fact of that exchange between you and I is exactly why it's that type of conversation that me and you are having. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be like, okay. I mean, I don't know what you are, and I don't really care, Janet, but I'm like, Janet, here she is. And I think you're talking about your husband earlier, so I'm like, whatever, I don't care, right? And I'll be like, she's the one that encouraged me to watch Schitt's Creek. You know, and same thing, like, I'm not really into, like, drag shows, but my straight girlfriends are, right? It's just, like, I love that, like, because it's, like, it doesn't matter. And it makes me feel more normal in that case, where, as a gay Chinese person, I really hope I don't have to be then promoting gay Chinese shows, but I would like to share stories that people like me who grew up in a more traditional Chinese family who didn't fit in are shared. So I that's why I cannot relate to Fresh Off the Boat. Those parents are so Americanized. I'm like, I had to sometimes not watch it so I wouldn't get so angry about it because I couldn't relate to that. Yeah. But that being said, it is a story, and I'm sure there's people that do relate to it. So if it's, and I actually watched every single episode, but if it is something that you relate to, that's great. And again, sorry, I always go back to your question. I hope I addressed your question about whatever it was. I'm so sorry.
Well, no, I think like it all comes back to what we talked about at the beginning of empathy, right? Like when you are a part of art and the creation of art with stories, it's going to, we hope, open people's eyes, minds, opinions to learn about other people's minds, opinions, and to be open to hearing that. Like, that's the whole reason why these stories are created, is so we don't just, like, stay in our little, like, box and not be exposed to the wonderful diversity, inclusion, whatever we're not going to call it, of the world, right? And also, there's going to be people out there who don't agree with your opinion, and that's okay, because people are allowed to have different opinions, but it's all about being open to hearing those different opinions. Yeah. And I think the best way to do that without yelling and screaming at each other over social media and the news is through art, because like you were saying at the very beginning, it's a safe space to explore a lot of these things. And
it is.
I love that.
It is. And it does go back to your very first question about why I love acting. Is now that I've gone through a lot of the experiences that I've had, and some of them have been negative, a lot actually have been positive, I can now share that in a completely safe way, and I don't, I'm not, at least me, I'm not one of those people that feel like I have to like dig up, the worst times in my life so I can actually get to that character. And even if I do that, I love it because I've already gotten past it. So now I can dig it up and use it, but in a positive way. It's not detrimental to me. I'm not like re-suffering, that rejection that I had 25 years ago. Yeah. I'm experiencing it, but because Angie Hung is over it, I can be that character and experience it again in a safe environment. And I love it. I love being able to like, okay, what was it like maybe going through that something that wasn't very pleasant, and I don't dread it. I'm like, oh my God, I'll be like, I know exactly how it feels because I went through that like 20 years ago, and I'm truly over it. And that was another thing that it was, was it Bryan Cranston? I read his book, right? Bryan Cranston, he wrote a book about his life, but about acting. He goes, you have to get past whatever you've been through before because you have to be a completely okay person. Then now to conquer all these difficult, complex roles and characters that hopefully you'll get the chance to play. I think I had to go through all those experiences and work through them, and understand from them, learn from them, not be bitter or bad about them, but use them as learning experiences so that, yes, I can have empathy and compassion and understanding for this character that might be going through some similar emotions. Because I think some emotions are universal, including, obviously happiness, joy, anger, hurt, pain. And I just love acting because, I'll have my reader come over and I happen to know it's for a role where I do have to go to a difficult place. And I love that my best friends can understand when I'm so sorry, can you come over and help me with audition? I'm not going to be very nice to you because I just need to be in my own space. Yeah. And even that gives me so much more appreciation from my friends who are not even actors at all, but yet they do understand why I might be in a different headspace and why I might not be the normal, friendly, upbeat Angie that they know. You know what? There's this great point, I had midway through the conversation. I still can't remember it. I might just have to remember it, and then I'll just text you about it and be like,
And I'll just like sneak it in.
Yeah. Can you edit me saying this even though I didn't actually say it?
Do you have any final words of wisdom or advice? No pressure.
Or advice. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've really enjoyed this conversation, so thank you, and I hope that it's been more of a conversation, not just you asking a question, me answering.
It was lovely.
Thank you. I do. And I think it goes back to auditioning and rejection in the acting. If you love the process of acting, including auditioning and the guaranteed rejection after rejection that comes with it, and you still love getting together with your reader, you love and get excited over a 1-page, 5-page audition script, you love challenging yourself to learn who you are in that character. You love doing things different ways. You love trying things different ways, i.e. if they ask for do this 2 different ways. Even if you don't book a role and you don't book roles, but you still want to do this, then acting is for you. If you get complete joy out of everything, even if you haven't received or gotten that big part yet, then acting is for you. If you like to challenge yourself to have empathy and putting yourself in someone else's shoes, even if someone else that in real life you maybe could never relate to, if you love that process and challenge and experience, and acting is for you. And acting is obviously, as I said this before, acting is not for you if you want to do something cool, if you want to meet famous people, if you want to become famous, whatever that even means. If it's anything about that, if you compare yourself to other actors, like the first thing you do when you meet other actors, well, Janet, what have you been in, right? If that is what spurs you on, then honestly, not only is acting not for you, I hope you never succeed. Because you're in it for the wrong reasons, and you might end up getting hurt in the process if that's really what you're pursuing. And I guess maybe for me as an older actor, i.e. not 20s, not 30s, just keep on going. I don't think there's ever an age that you're too old to pursue this art, because eventually someone will want to tell a story that is maybe of an older person, whether that's a mother, a grandmother, not even a mother who happens to be older, then that is another cool thing about acting. Oh, and finally, acting is not acting at all. It's not pretending. It's being so real that in that moment that you're in that character, you are that character and you feel it, but it's a safe way of feeling it. Once you're out of it, you're okay. You're back to being yourself. You're not tormented, right? The tormented actor. And finally, oh yes, I have one final piece of wisdom. And you know what? I'm sorry, without my glasses, I can't see the time, so don't go over time. But okay.
No, it's all good.
Yeah. If you really want to do something like Janet's podcast, and you're excited to do it, like you're excited to do it to begin with, but you didn't know like what to expect, and you really enjoyed the conversation, then 100% acting is for you.
Yes.
Because you get to talk about it. So yes. Yeah. So I think my last piece of wisdom is, if you enjoy something like this because you get to share about acting and talk about it and have that conversation, then definitely acting is for you. Because I just realized how much I love acting, even just by talking to you, even if I wasn't as eloquent as I would love to be.
Thank you everyone for tuning in, and thank you, Angie, for sharing your story with me. Thank you for your powerful words of wisdom, your hilarious thoughts on the Spice Girls, Schitt's Creek, representation in the industry. I love everything about your enthusiasm and your joy and charisma that you're bringing to this world. Oh, the acting industry needs more people like you. We need more people like you, Angie. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and I hope you will all tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye!